the Scott County Chamber. My name is Robert Chapman. I'm the current president of the Chamber. I'd like to welcome you all here this evening. I would like to say thank you to our main sponsors, New People's Bank, Food City, Addington Oil. We would also like to say thank you to the Scott County Career and Tech Center, the Scott County Career and Tech Center Culinary Arts students, the Chamber Candidate Committee, all candidates for office, Heritage TV, and Scott County Telephone Cooperative. At this time, I would like to ask, are there any veterans present with us? And if you are and able to stand, please stand. If you can't stand, please raise your hand. Thank you so much for your service. Now I'd like to ask everybody to stand. We're going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this point in time, I'm going to turn the program over to our moderator this evening. It's going to be Bob McConnell.
Thank you, Robert. I am Bob McConnell. I live at Manville. Don't hold that against me, though. And I will be your moderator for this evening. During the evening, we will present the candidates for constitutional offices, the Board of Supervisors, and the school board. Each candidate will have the opportunity to convince you that they deserve your vote. Public questions were submitted to candidates in advance. I will read the questions prior to introducing the candidates. Although it is preferred that they answer these questions, they may choose not to do so. In the interest of time, no questions will be accepted from the audience. Each candidate will have 5 minutes for their remarks. This time limit will be strictly enforced. Time will be monitored by a light system operated by Ms. Dee Hill. At the green light, the candidate may begin their remarks. The yellow light signifies 1 minute remaining, and the red light means stop. The backup time control will be by stopwatch operated by Mr. Robert Chapman. 2 candidates are not in attendance and have requested that I read their statements for them. I will do so at the appropriate time. We will have 2 brief intermissions, one after the constitutional officers candidates and one after the Board of Supervisor candidates. So let's begin with the constitutional officers. 2 questions were submitted for the State Senate and House of Delegates. Same questions for both groups. I'm only going to read these questions one time. What can be done to help local governments budget shortfalls created by state and federal mandates? Second question, rural communities like Scott County depend on grant funding for economic development and infrastructure projects. These grants are consistently encumbered by state reviews that do not add value to the project, but cause excessive delays and add costs to the project. What can be done about this? We will begin with candidates for Virginia State Senate. First, Mr. Todd Higbee.
You started.
No.
All right, well, first of all, thank you all for having me back in Scott County. It's good to be back. Some of you may remember me from your annual chamber meeting back in March, where I gave an overview of the legislative efforts we've taken to deal with the addiction crisis in Virginia. We all agreed that evening that the hardest test to pass in Southwest Virginia should never be a drug test. Since March, I've been all over Southwest Virginia, from my home county of Lee, up to Grayson, up to Wythe, and all in between, hearing from voters just like you. I can tell you that I think I've seen some of you more than I've seen my own family. But that's okay, because we know the stakes are high in this election, and I want to fight for a Southwest Virginia that my kids, your kids, and your grandkids can stay in and call home. Now to your question. So the first question has to do with budget shortfalls due to state and federal government. Of course, the best way to prevent a local budget shortfall is never to pass an unfunded mandate to begin with. As a member of the House Appropriations Committee, I see room for improvement on how we can better manage programs and cut government waste. By doing so, we can save taxpayers money and use the money on local priorities to alleviate the burden on localities who increasingly feel the squeeze on education and, as Scott County knows far too well, regional jails. One area we're working on, like I said, is the drug crisis and making sure we reinvest in those savings into treatment options so people agree across the board this is an issue that we can't arrest our way out of, and our jails are full of people dealing with addiction. The second question has to do with grant funding. Grant funding is critical to so many projects and initiatives in Southwest Virginia. I've worked with local, state, and federal partners to make sure we do everything we can to support projects, to compete and win funding opportunities. Our folks here in Scott County and all over Southwest Virginia are pros at that and do a great job. As public money, we should always make sure that grant dollars are good investments and that there are reasonable, and I stress reasonable, accountability mechanisms in place. I'm a fiscal conservative, and I want to make sure tax dollars are doing what they should be doing. Doing so cuts waste and potentially frees up more resources that we can compete for. Now, looking on to November, I can tell you Virginia is at a crossroads, and our future depends on those who show up to vote. Southwest Virginia has more on the line than any other region, from our jobs to our values and everything in between. I'm proud to run on the record of passing the second largest tax cut in history, returning money directly to the taxpayers who paid it to begin with in those rebate checks that you've been seeing in your mailbox of $110 and $220. We secured more dollars for our rural schools and passed teacher pay raises, including the 5% pay raise in this last budget. We've expanded opportunities for our farmers with hemp and reduced burdensome regulations. We've invested new dollars in broadband, workforce, and economic development, and fight against the big pharma and making sure that we're lowering drug costs, and of course, combating the opioid epidemic. Equally important, though, are some of the initiatives that we stopped. This past year, we saw legislation that made Virginia look more like New York or California at the expense of right here in Southwest Virginia. We blocked Virginia's Green New Deal that would have cost the state billions of dollars, killed jobs, and nearly doubled our electric bills. We saved $17 billion in new costs and 150,000 jobs by stopping the extreme left economic agenda. And we stood up, as many of you knew, to those who want to undermine our values by targeting our Second Amendment and respect for life and the right to life. Responsible gun ownership and respect for life are basic principles that were instilled in me growing up. As the pro-life and pro-Second Amendment endorsed candidate in this race, I can assure you that I will always stand up and fight for our values. The fact is, experience and results matter. I'm proud to have the endorsements of multiple groups representing people and their values here in Southwest Virginia. Teachers, law enforcement, healthcare, farmers, small business, realtors, Second Amendment, and pro-life. You and I are here because this is home, and this is where we want to be. I grew up in the lower end of Lee County, and I can say that because I grew up there, where Virginia begins, not ends. I worked on a farm to pay for my first year in college and then joined the National Guard. I came home to fulfill my passion, working on kids as a dentist. Doing so has allowed us to help meet the healthcare needs of our children and create jobs from Smith County to Bristol that contribute to our state and local tax base. Thank you. I'd like to have your support.
Thank you.
You weren't kidding about that buzzer, were you? I like that.
I wasn't kidding.
First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you to the Scott County Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event. It's important for you guys to be here to participate in the process. I'm Ken Heath. I was born and raised here in Southwest Virginia, graduated from Marion High School, attended East Tennessee State University, and had a great career in radio. I made this decision early on in life to stay in my hometown to make a difference, and to serve in any way I could to make life better for my neighbors. Bring back some of the vitality I remembered as a kid. In November of 1994, I left my career in radio and became Marion's first Main Street director. I was twice elected to the Marion Town Council, and through my work, was the first person in Southwest Virginia to be named as a certified local government official by the Virginia Municipal League. Just about 10 years ago, I moved into my current position as Community and Economic Development Director for the town of Marion. And just last year, I completed the University of Virginia Sorensen Institute for Political Leadership with an eye on continuing my service to our region. As the only candidate on the ballot with true local government experience, with hands-on economic and community development experience, I have a different perspective on both issues I was asked to address. On unfunded mandates, it's simple. If the federal and state government can't pay for the impact, then we shouldn't allow them to skip out on their constitutional responsibility and pass those costs on to the localities. In 2012, the Republican delegate from Stafford proffered House Bill 117, in which he stated Virginia must refrain from imposing additional unfunded mandates because they harm local government budgets, adversely affect local services delivery, and increase reliance on limited existing taxing mechanisms. In short, stop it. But that bill was killed and left in committee. It's time to stand up to the political machines that want to promise but leave us with empty pocketbooks here at home, and I'll stand up to stop those unfunded mandates. Secondly, the question asked about state reviews and oversight that add no value to grant funding on a project, but cause excessive delays and add costs to the project. Essentially taking money from grant funds that we need here to complete important work to offset salaries and operational budgets of state agencies. We have a great state workforce, make no mistake. But I personally, through my work, have seen where grants we've relied on are shrinking, and more going to admin costs, leaving us fewer dollars to do with, or having to come up with out of the local taxpayers' pockets. I believe in streamlining projects, getting the most good for the most people, and doing so without the additional encumbrances that we've seen on grant-funded projects here at Wood. Lastly, why I'm running. I'm running because I have a hands-on experience, boots on the ground, with entrepreneurs, existing businesses and industry, local governments, and with our legislature. I'm not bound by the political machines in Richmond. I'm not taking a penny from either political party, any of the PACs, special interest groups, big pharma, or corporations, because I will not work for them. I, as an independent, will work for you. I believe in you. I believe in Southwest Virginia, and I'm asking you to believe in me this November 5th, and I'm asking for your vote to be your Senate. Thank you.
We now move to the House of Delegates. The Honorable Cherry Kilgore.
Thank you. I won't be as long. I appreciate it. I'm just glad to be on the ballot, you all. No, it's great to be here. And Bob, thank you for coming from Manville to do this tonight. I want to thank the Chamber for putting this program on and giving each of us an opportunity to address the voters, because that's what it's all about. Get in a room and get off social media, see each other, talk to your friends and neighbors, and address the issues. And that's what tonight's all about. And you know, I want to first address the first question about mandates. Mandates are tough. I mean, and that's something that we work to stop a lot in Richmond as we go through our budget process and as we listen to our state and local leaders, whether it be the Board of Supervisors or the school system. And a lot of those mandates you see in the school system, and where we add a lot of a new curriculum or a new teacher or something like that. So yes, we're trying to stop those mandates and trying to, if we pass it, we fund it, and that's what we've been working on in Richmond. And it's gotten a lot better over the last 10 years of funding those mandates. So we do need to look at that. We've been working, with our jail to make sure that our jail costs get down, and we've worked with our Board of Supervisors to make sure that those DOC, Department of Correction inmates, are shipped out when they're supposed to be shipped out, and trying to get them to get there earlier. And I want to commend our Commonwealth Attorney, Andy Johnson, for his program and doing what he's doing to help reduce costs here in the county, because that's an innovative, out-of-the-box approach. And sometimes people are better off out working than setting in jail And I've always thought that sometimes we put too many people in jail because we're mad at them, not because they need to be there. We need to put the violent people in jail, those that are going to do harm, and put those that are those that can work. They need to be out contributing to society. And I appreciate the job that Andy's done there on that. But as far as federal and state regulations, I agree, they kill a lot of jobs. It shouldn't cost us, and we see this a lot at the state level, it shouldn't cost us 3 times more to build a state college building than it costs a private college building to build, a private college to build the same building. It shouldn't cost us that, and the reason it does is because we have so many mandates, so many items that we have to check off the box, and so many different bureaucracies within state government and the federal government have to check it off and approve it. So I agree, a lot of those are job-killing bureaucracy that we need to get away from. We have done some great things in that area, setting up one-stop shopping programs where you can go in and get all your licenses at one place. We've tried to do that, and that seems to work pretty well. But let me end by saying I appreciate your all support. I've been doing this a long time, but I couldn't do it without the help of my home county here in Scott County, and it's been good to serve with Todd Pillion, and he's been doing a great job for us, and he really helped us in the state appropriations getting those money for the rural school divisions. He really helped out a lot. But thank you all, and thank you for Chamber once again for doing this tonight. It's a great way to come together and allow the citizens to hear the issues. Thank you.
Like the other speakers before me, I'd like to thank the Chamber, so everybody knows the SCOTT program, that's the Scott program, that stands for Scott County Occupational Training and Treatment. I want to thank everyone for being here. It's a privilege to be here to speak with you. Certainly want to thank Mr. Kilgore for giving me a plug right before I come in to speak. To answer the first question, I think most often when we talk about implementing change, it's a result of some proactive or preventative measure. The justice system itself is reactive. The conduct or behavior resulting in the application of the system has already occurred. As a prosecutor, I'm one of the moving parts of the justice system. My involvement as it relates to conduct or behavior, specifically drug-related conduct or behavior, begins after that conduct or behavior has occurred. In order to combat this delayed involvement and have a positive impact, we developed the Scott Service Program. With the help of the director, Jessica Keith, who's present tonight, the current Board of Supervisors, the county attorney, the county administrator, and countless other county personnel, we set in motion a program that is an alternative to incarceration through community service and treatment. Each individual charged with a nonviolent offense and has a nonviolent history and otherwise eligible under their current sentencing guidelines enters into an agreement with the Commonwealth. This agreement is a two-part agreement. The first part of that agreement, the individual agrees to a multi-year active Department of Correction sentence. And by multi-year, I mean usually with the Department of Corrections and the Duffield Regional Jail, an individual who is sentenced to up to 2 years would stay in the Duffield Regional Jail for that period of time at the expense of the Scott County taxpayer. The active sentence that these individuals receive exceeds that 2-year period. That 2-year or that multi-year active department, the second part of that agreement is that the active period of incarceration, that multi-year period of incarceration is postponed. And it's postponed on the condition that this individual or this participant complete a multi-month period of community service. In addition to community service, the participants are monitored on a daily basis. They receive regular drug screens. They're enrolled in mental health and substance abuse counseling when it's necessary. We also provide occupational training. We provide educational classes, and we aid participants in job search. In fact, we encourage participant employment. Ultimately, the positive change is that the Scott Service participants experience a meaningful existence while in the program. And that carries over, and they remain drug-free and productive members of society. To answer the second question, in relation to reducing the load on the justice system, it sort of reverts back to my initial remarks with regard to the first question. We must place a greater emphasis on proactive preventative measures so that the conduct or the behavior never occurs. Once my office is fully staffed, once the Scott Service program is fully operational, we hope to partner with the Scott County Public Schools to reinvent the method of communicating with our youth about the risks associated with substance abuse and addiction. We hope to partner with the Department of Social Services and Behavioral Health Services in identifying individuals and families who are in need of aid, and provide that aid prior to those individuals or families becoming involved in the justice system. We hope to partner with the 30th Circuit Drug Court Coordinator and initiate a drug court program in Scott County as another sentencing alternative. We also intend to, as the question indicates, expand on the Scott Service program. We hope to utilize the program to renovate the former Scott County Jail, utilize it as a potential halfway house for those in need, or an alternative holding facility for offenders to reduce taxpayer expense. You know,
Thank you, Mr. John. Next is Sheriff. Questions for Sheriff candidates. How can you strengthen the working relationship between the Sheriff's Office and other county offices? And how does the Sheriff's Department need to specifically change in order to serve the citizens of Scott County? Please include in your answer your top priorities if elected. Mr. Jeff Eads.
Appreciate it, thank you. Appreciate the Chamber for allowing us to come here and do this, put our statements out, our priorities. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Eads. I'm the Republican candidate running for sheriff. I did go through the nomination process, and I was nominated as the Republican candidate. I have over 31 years of law enforcement experience, which involves specialized training in many areas that I can bring to the Sheriff's Department. And first and foremost, though, I'd like to say I am a Christian, and I've been a member of the Gate City Baptist Church for 20 years. The Chamber gave us the two questions. The first one is I'm committed to the subject since I have began my campaign first with this, when I first started the campaign. But we must partner with each other and possess the willingness to cooperate with each other. Then we need to listen to each other and have open lines of communication between the different agencies to effectively serve the citizens in Scott County. I assure you, I will have a great working relationship with all county offices and agencies within the county. Second question, I've been listening to our citizens, and these are the concerns most often reported to me. If you have been following my campaign, you know that two of my top priorities are combating drug abuse and doing so in every community, not only in Weber City, Gate City, and Route 23. The officers need to be in the communities. I hear that more often than anything else, is they've got drug problems also. Have an officer patrolling every community We'll build relationships with the residents in those communities. And that means meeting people, shaking hands, stopping, talking, introducing yourself. And it will include checking on the frail and elderly when it's requested to do so. One of the best changes we can do is become an accredited agency. You may not know what that is, but it will have transparency and it would adhere to many set standards that law enforcement have. I've been discussing this with Sheriff Ronnie Oakes in Wise County. His department has been accredited for a long time. So, in some key areas, these standards address organization and management and administration, personal administration, law enforcement operations, training, on-site inspections, just to name a few. But I believe there's 190 points you have to meet to be accredited. Accreditation not only enhances the reputation of the department, but it increases community confidence. This will be a monumental task to undertake, but will be worth it for the department and the citizens of Scott County. And I will add that when this is completed, it will help the next sheriffs down the road. They will know that the policies and procedures are in place that they need to follow, and that will help the next sheriffs down the road. I have personally been going door to door, speaking with the people myself. I will continue to do so. I have been listening to the comments and concerns that I will act upon if elected. I truly believe that it's an honor to be sheriff, and it is an elected position by the people, and it is to be taken seriously. Another thing I want to add, that I will support the deputies and give them credit for the work they do. I don't see that happening now. The safety and security of you and your children will always be my primary concern. And this right here, the decision I will make will always be made in effort to benefit you, the people of Scott County. It will not be for me, it will be for you. If you want to see positive change for our future, I ask that you vote for me to become your elected sheriff November the 5th. Thank you and God bless. I've added one more page. And it's, I'm a positive person.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Greg McMurray, candidate for sheriff. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to speak here tonight, and everyone else that came out. And those of you that's going to be seeing this at home on the television at a later date. I'm a lifelong resident of Scott County. I grew up on a farm in Hilton, raised my family there. I've been married to my lovely wife, Mary, for 45 years. We have 2 children. My daughter Maria and her husband Anthony Calabro, my son Matthew and his wife Stasha, and my 4 biggest fans, my grandbabies, Maddie, Piper, Landry, and Charlie. To address the first question, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I think it's just professional courtesy between the offices. I intend to do that, and I'm sure each person in those offices would extend that same professional courtesy to me. But to address the second question, I've worked here in Scott County as a deputy under my brother, Sheriff Darrell McMurray, and I retired from the Bristol, Virginia Police Department. After retiring from the police department, I went to work as a supervisor for AGC Industries, supervising up to 35 people on a daily basis. I'm the only candidate with several years of management experience. If elected sheriff, I will use my law enforcement management background to make improvements to the sheriff's office, and will be focusing on several issues, including the safety of our towns and community, with an emphasis on the youth and elderly. drug abuse, education and prevention, community outreach, and proper patrolling. Accreditation, training, grants, developing standard policies and procedures. Cooperation with other agencies, budgetary concerns, fiscal responsibility, and accountability. Recidivism, jail overcrowding, and alternative sentencing. To touch on accreditation, the Sheriff's Office hasn't been accredited since the program's inception in 1993, and to my knowledge hasn't been at point in the previous campaign. Bristol, Virginia is an accredited agency, so I have a good understanding how the process works. To be accredited means a dedication to providing services to the communities it serves, to promote cooperation among all components in the criminal justice system and other governmental agencies, to ensure an appropriate level of training for all personnel, promotion of public confidence in law enforcement, and to support professionals of law enforcement agencies in the Commonwealth. Accredited agencies also have an increased chance of receiving grant funding on a points-based award system. I've spoken to Derek Mays, the program manager for accreditation, and discussed a plan for getting started if elected as your sheriff. Grants. I've also spoken with Patrick Harris, grant specialist for the DCJS, and have plans for moving forward regarding grant funding. These grants are much needed and can help with ensuring the safety of our youth, funding for school resource officers, the educate the parents and the community on the ever-changing substance abuse landscape, as well as funding for increased training for officers, Hope House, and many other good causes. The work program. I'd like to commend Mr. Andy Johnson, the Commonwealth Attorney, for his work on getting a work program started. I've been a proponent of a work program before and throughout my campaign. In my opinion, it's a win-win situation that develops a work program that will benefit the county and reduce the costs incurred in incarceration, while providing skills to the individuals in the program that upon completion will be beneficial to them in finding gainful employment. Studies have shown that the use of these alternative sentence programs have a substantial impact on recidivism, the likelihood that an offender will reoffend, and can be essential to rehabilitation with offenders becoming productive members of society. The program is intended for nonviolent offenders, and I look forward to making recommendations for good candidates to participate in this program. Neighboring Wise County expects to see savings of about $500,000 this year in incarceration due to the work program. Not only can save the county money, the participants are grateful for this opportunity. A good sheriff believes in being from his community.
Thank you, Mr. McMurray. Chris Cole.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all y'all for coming out. I'm Chris Holder. I'm the current sheriff of Scott County Sheriff's Office. I've been in the Sheriff's Office for almost 24 years. I have a wife and twin girls. Proud to be a citizen of Scott County. I'm proud to serve this county for the years I have. I'm just a man. I'm nothing more than that. I'm a Christian. I'm a Bible-believing, God-fearing man. To answer the first question, any working relationship takes communication, and it's a two-way street. It's been my goal since I was appointed sheriff in March to have an open door policy with the different departments and with all the county offices and with the public. I believe the rule is that we treat people the way we want to be treated, and we all work together for the same reason, and that's to serve the citizens of this county. As far as the second question goes, Albert Einstein quoted, "The only source of knowledge is experience." And experience is what I bring to the sheriff's office because I've been there 24 years. In my years of service with the sheriff's office, I began as a jailer under Jerry Broadwater. I also worked I worked the road as a deputy. I worked as an investigator, chief of detectives,
major, and currently now serving as sheriff. My duties in investigations included many violent felony crimes such as rape, B&E, suicide, homicide, and drug-related and drug cases. This has provided me the knowledge to be able to know what the sheriff's office needs and the county needs. My top priorities when I took over in March as sheriff was to serve the citizens of Scott County first and foremost by keeping them and their property safe, to increase the safety of our children in schools, from sexual predators, internet crimes, and drugs. I have already assigned deputies to designated areas, which wasn't done until March. I reduced the crime on illegal drugs and increased our K-9 program. We're also already seeing these results since March. Since March, we have increased the drug arrests. We have reduced burglaries in the county. We have a new K-9, as everybody knows, that has paid for itself in one vehicle stop. From Ohio, this dog got $21,000 plus out of this vehicle, and that's not counting the other seizures that the dog has made and done. We've increased traffic checks throughout the whole county. We have increased school checks, walkthroughs, day and night in this county with the schools. Deputies are attending public meetings such as the old folks meetings, not to say nothing bad, but y'all are getting nervous in front of people. Senior citizens meetings and different things like that, they are doing that. Before, this wasn't done. Under Jerry Broadwater, we all had assigned areas. We stuck to them areas. Each deputy had an area. That got changed for about 12 years, but now it's back. Each deputy has an assigned area. Deputies are not just stopping cars on 23. Deputies are getting drugs out of each community. We've done search warrants on houses, but we won't get into that. But anyway, we've increased welfare checks on the elderly and the widows. The reason I have done this already is because in my career, I have seen grandpa and grandma that's been dead for 3 or 4 days in the house that nobody checked on. So we do that. We've obtained a crime scene vehicle. Scott County has never had one, and being in the detective in the detective division, that was something that we needed. Scott County Life Saving Crew, they donated us an ambulance. We're making a crime scene vehicle out of it. During my career, I have seen a lot of things. I've mourned with families, I've cried with them, I've prayed with them, because I do care about the people of Scott County and not the politics. I care about the people. I have a vested interest here. That's my children. That's your children. And I want them to grow up and have babies and live here. I want to have grandkids, and I hope to die from here. And I know what it is to tell a parent that your child is never coming back home. I know what it is to hold a young girl's hand after she's been raped by a violent felon or a violent offender. And I know what it is for somebody to take their life in front of me because of drug addiction. I've seen that firsthand. I know what it feels like to walk up on one of the deputies in a uniform and he's got bullet holes in him or he's shot because of a violent felon. I know what it feels like for my deputies to use deadly force to protect the community or the citizens in that community because of a violent offender with a gun. I've been there, I've done that. The sheriff's office is involved in more than just traffic violations. We do drugs, we serve papers, we serve the citizens of this county, and if you vote for me and I'm elected sheriff, I promise you, the Scott County Sheriff's Office is going to serve you 110% of whatever needs you have. And it's not going to be, we're not bad, but our job is to enforce the law. The Sheriff's Office includes a management.
Thank you, Mr. Holder.
Thank you.
Way to go,
Mr. Tony McClellan.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony McClellan. I've lived in Scott County since 1978 when I got out of the service and moved over here. I think I know about everybody in this room, and at one time or the other, I'd say we was friends. I do want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, and you do get a little tongue tied up here when you get in front of a whole bunch of people, regardless if you know them or not. I'd say anybody out there would do the same thing. The first question, you've got to have communication in anything that you do. You've got to be able to talk to people. You've got to have them to understand. You need to understand, and everybody needs to get along. And if you can do that, you can have communication with whether it be the sheriff's department, dog wardens, or just whatever it may be. And, you know, like I said, you just gotta communicate. If you have monthly meetings or anything, that would be great. On the second one, my first and foremost, you know, I come up here after 3 other people did. You know, it's kind of hard to top some of what they said. But if I was elected sheriff, my number one priority is you and your children and your grandchildren. When I first moved here, you could go to bed with your doors open at night, your windows up, you didn't have to worry about nothing or nobody. Drugs wasn't really bad. You know, the worst thing we had around here was somebody smoking pot, somebody had a moonshine steal. And that's about what we had. But it has got so bad and worse. And I have a 17-year-old son, I have a 5-year-old grandson that I'm raising, and I hate to see what's going to come upon them in a few years. You're never going to eliminate drugs, I don't care what you do or who you are, but you can take a bite out of them. You know, a lot of times it takes hard measures for hard stuff. And that's what we all have to see. I've seen them, the Board of Supervisors down cut Chris Holder here not long ago for arresting too many and putting them in jail. That's his job. His job is to protect and serve. That's why he gets paid what he gets paid. That's why the deputies get paid what they get paid. That's what they are here for, is to do a job. That's the bottom line. If the Board of Supervisors don't like the job that they have, let them step down and let somebody else take over that can do their job. Because that's just the way it is. I'm not a politician, never claimed to be. I'm a citizen. And I see it just like you all see it, just like your kids see it, and everything else. I don't see somebody arresting one of your kids or one of your grandkids for having a piece of a joint in his ashtray and making him a convicted felon and him have to live with that the rest of his life. It's not right. Before you know it, marijuana is going to be legal. It's going to be legal here. It is everywhere else. It's no different than a beer or a drink of liquor. You know, we can all say that we're holier than thou. We're not. We all have shortcomings every day at the end of the day. And we need to wake up and we need to look at those. So that's, you know, I'll do everything I can for the citizens of Scott County. Yeah, I'll be a working sheriff. My door will be open all the time. I don't know a whole lot else to say. But I do know that a lot of things in the last 6 months or so that I've seen from the Sheriff's Department has been good. I think it should have been done a little differently, and I think out of all candidates, we all have our own way of running the Sheriff's Office. And we'll all run it differently. But I think in the bottom, that each and one of you all is our best thing. Now that I only have 60 seconds, I would like to say that I come in this thing as a Democrat, and I was ousted by the Democratic Party. I don't think what they done was right, but they done it. So I run independent. And I've had friends befriend me. I've had people that I've known for 20 years. But there's one that I have to say has not befriended me. He's come into my establishment and ate dinner and everything else. And if you can't find to vote for me, vote for Greg McNamara. He's a good man. And he'd make a good sheriff. So if you can't vote for me, vote for somebody else that will make change November 5th. I thank all of you for your time.
Thank you. Now we move on to additional revenue. Here are the questions. How would you ensure the accuracy of records in your office so they better serve county residents? What are your plans to use technology now available to improve the efficiency and cost effectiveness of your office? Ms. Debbie Dockery.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting this on. My name is Debbie Dockery, and I'm the Republican candidate for re-election for the Scott County Commissioner of the Revenue. I'm a lifetime resident of Scott County. I grew up in Gate City and later moved to Rye Cove, where I have spent the last 38 years with my husband Otis. We have 3 children, Jennifer, Samantha, and Logan. We have 3 precious grandchildren, soon to be 4, Chloe, Asher, Cole, and a baby girl due in December. I was elected as the first female Commissioner of the Revenue for Scott County in 2015. It has been a great honor to serve as your Commissioner of the Revenue and contribute to our wonderful county. And I guess I'm going to answer number 2 first, but one of my main goals I wanted to accomplish as Commissioner of the Revenue was to have our real estate records and GIS maps installed online for the public. This has been a huge asset to our office, and I think it's been a huge asset to the county. People have access to these records 24/7. This technology has helped our office to start correcting maps and real estate records that may have not gotten noticed before. The Office of the Commissioner of the Revenue was established by the Constitution of Virginia. The Commissioner of Revenue is elected every 4 years and is one of 5 locally elected constitutional officers. The Commissioner of the Revenue is responsible for diligent and careful maintenance of records. We work closely with other state agencies such as the Department of Motor Vehicles and the Virginia Department of Taxation, as well as many local agencies in order to obtain information to accurately assess each taxpayer. And that is sort of falls back to question number 1. The Commissioner of Revenue is responsible for maintaining all real estate records. This includes real estate transfers, maintaining the real estate master file, and producing the yearly land book for which the county tax tickets are printed. The Commissioner of Revenue is also responsible for personal property taxation such as vehicles, motorcycles, mobile homes, etc. We administer public service corporation taxes, which includes power companies, phone companies, and railroads. These taxes are assessed in cooperation with the State Corporation Commission and the Virginia Department of Taxation. Our office determines real estate relief eligibility for the elderly and disabled. We help in the application process for Scott County homeowners. We also handle the tax exemption for qualifying veterans who are 100% service-connected disabled. We provide free state income tax preparation for Scott County residents and non-residents who work in Scott County. Scott County has one of the lowest staffed offices for Commissioner of Revenue in the state of Virginia. We run the office with 3 people, including myself, and I take great pride in the efficient manner that we run our office. And I have to say, I didn't put this on here, but I have 2 of the most amazing co-workers that I could have. Without them, I could not run my office, and I'm so grateful for them. I appreciate everyone who has supported me, and I look forward to 4 more years as your Commissioner of the Revenue. As always, we will continue to work together to serve you better. I know that I work for you, the taxpayers of Scott County. I know that you elected me into office. I would never forget that. I have an open door policy. If anyone has any problems, complaints, concerns, please feel free to come in my office so that we may get it corrected. Thank you again, and may God bless you all.
We now move to the treasurer. Questions are, how would you ensure the accuracy of records in your office so they better serve county residents? What are your priorities in finding ways to collect delinquent taxes? Ms. Missy Johnson Owens.
Good afternoon. First off, I would like to thank the Chamber and all our sponsors that are here tonight. Just to give you all a little bit of background about me, for those of you all that may actually not know me, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised in Weber City, graduated from Gate City High School, and moved to Hilton's when I married my husband, Phil. We have 2 grown children, Sam and Emily, and I've been your Scott County Treasurer for the last 8 years. It's both been a privilege and an honor to serve the folks that have elected me, and I continue to do so. Question number 1, and I'm going to read it again just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. How would you ensure the accuracy of records in your office so they better serve the county residents? Most of you all know we live in a very high-tech world. Online availability is a necessity to our residents that we currently do not have. We have a DOS-based system from the 1980s that cannot possibly keep up in this day and age. Accuracy is knowledge. Knowledge is acquired through experience and education. Therefore, if you have no experience with our current system, information could be misinterpreted. Question number 2. What are your priorities in finding ways to collect delinquent taxes? Currently, we have 2 delinquent tax sales per year. We do stops and we do liens and garnishments. My top priority is to have a local collection agency that will work with our residents. I have been able to get our title searches back to our locality, thus keeping tax dollars here in our county rather than having your money to go to Northern Virginia. And for those of you all that remember, our previous county administrator, Kathy No, gave us a challenge a couple of years ago about local. And for those of you all that know me, I'm very much local. I wish we could do everything in Scott County. Unfortunately, we can't. We don't have the businesses that have the demand for some of the things that we see here in our county. Lastly, I too have an open door policy and welcome each and any of you all cares, concerns, questions. Lastly, please vote November the 5th for Mitzi Johnson Owens. Thank you all and God bless you.
Modernization projects in Holston. I work with a team to develop a quality assurance plan for completing the work and follow up those plans with established verification processes. Of those responsibilities, developing the plan is the most important because it ensures we get started off on the right foot. The verification process hinges on the plan creation to ensure we are getting what we paid for, ensuring that the contract is met to completeness of work and that it is fit for its intended use. I think Ronald Reagan said it best, we trust but we verify. I hold a degree in chemistry from Northeast State, a business degree from King University, and a master's degree in education from Tusculum. So that's just a little about me, but the most important thing you need to know, remember about me tonight, is my faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. My faith has led me to this path where I am today and has led me to seek this position within the county. I'm very blessed to be able to stand before you today and say that I want to work for Scott County. I want to help make a difference in Scott County. Not only because I live here, but because I have a niece and a nephew that I want to see thrive in Scott County. As I've traveled around the county talking to the folks, I've asked them, so what makes you stay in Scott County? Many folks live in Scott County because they have roots here, they have family here, because they grew up here, and they want to raise their families here. But what keeps the people here? Is it our taxes, our great schools, those fabulously maintained roads, the vast assortment of recreational activities we have? No, it's your families. What keeps folks in Scott County is their ties to the area, and that's good and bad. It's great for Scott County, but it's a burden on the families who are struggling to stay in Scott County because they want to be here, not because they have to be here. We haven't been doing a very good job to keep people here, let alone attracting people who want to move here. And we have to change that. Scott County should be more proactive in attracting small businesses to the area. We need to look at the surrounding counties and adopt what's worked for them. We need to invest in our county better. We need to invest in businesses that create jobs and businesses that will make folks want to spend money in Scott County. We, the people, can't keep bearing the burden to keep the county afloat. I promise to push hard for small businesses and to push for more industry in the county. I think we as a county have missed too many opportunities for growth and revenue, and I promise to advocate for those. Being an advocate is good, but we have to have responsibility and accountability on the part of every single person charged with overseeing our budget. Fiscal responsibility implies that government pursues the appropriate level of government spending and tax to, one, maintain sustainable public finances, ensure fiscal policy supports the ideal rate of economic growth, and that we maintain appropriate levels of public investment. Now I ask you to think about the following and answer it for yourself. Do I know how Scott County government works? Do I understand the roles of each of the public offices elected to oversee my tax dollars? Most people have a basic understanding of the county government. When we pay taxes, we should see improvements. Or in Scott County's situation, current situation, if you don't pay your taxes, you see your debt get distributed around, and taxes must be raised on those of us that do our due diligence.
Thank you, Mrs. Booby. Mr. Dennis Horton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dennis Horton. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity afforded to each of us seeking a time of public service to appear before you and introduce ourselves. I'm a native of Scott County and to have chosen to live in Scott County and seek to contribute whatever talents and expertise I may possess to lift and elevate the quality of lives of all who have chosen the same. I have 50 years' experience in financing human service, nonprofit, and government agencies, have served on numerous boards and still do to this day. It's no great secret that Scott County faces some serious issues in the coming future. And as I lay out my vision, I realize that not all of it may come to fruition, but at least the vision is cast. The other side of that vision, time is not our friend. We must commit that to the work and commit now. I wish to raise several topics, and each would allow too much time, but allow me just to hit the highlights of what I think should be the goal of every Scott County. Tax stability and sustainability has to be a carefully crafted plan, not only to raise the revenues it takes to operate local government, and to provide those services required of a county, but necessary to make creative infrastructure investments that will produce benefits far in the future. Too low a tax rate, and we can't operate. Too high, and we drive away in business, and an undue hardship on the taxpayer. I seek to propose a twofold approach. Adopt zero-based budgeting and ask our delegation to the General Assembly to provide more ways of raising revenues at the local level than of putting it on the property owner. Will these ideas avoid raising taxes? No. But it should close the revenue gap so that tax increases are seldom thought of. The second plan is to implement real-time property tax assessment to quickly add improved property to the tax rolls, thus reducing the lag time between improving property and collecting the correct amount of tax. I will work with existing programs at the secondary, college, and adult level to ensure a qualified technical workforce for any business seeking to expand or relocate to Scott County. Agriculture and resource harvesting is a vital part of our economy, and I will work with agricultural-based agencies to help farmers diversify their production expand their operations, and increase profitability. And I will work to get a farmer's market in Scott County. Tourism and local recreational outlets seem to go hand in hand toward development of activities that will increase tourism. Agritourism is a wide open field. Several initiatives that have already started are beginning to bear fruit. It's my intention to see that they continue to showcase Scott County. I believe in supporting and expanding existing businesses to help them create more jobs. It's best pointed out by the old adage, it's easier to save a dollar than to make one. It's easier to create opportunities for business to expand. And I seek to create a comprehensive plan that will set a direction for the future. The alternatives are clear, the questions are all too stark. I'm willing to try to solve those problems. I close with this, with a quote from George Bernard Shaw. Some people see things as they are and ask why. I see things that never were and ask why not. I ask for your support on November 5th. Thank you.
We now move to District 1. Mr. Darrell Jeter could not be here. He asked that I read a statement for him, and I will do that now. Please accept my sincere regrets for not having been able to participate in the forum due to a prior commitment. Ms. Patricia Kilgore.
Good afternoon. Let me introduce myself to those that may not know who I am. My name is Patricia Kilgore, and my family moved back to Scott County in 1966. My mother and my father were both raised in Scott and Lee County, respectively. And my dad always wanted to farm, so we came back to Scott County in 1966 after he found one. I graduated from Gate City High School, and after high school I went to nursing school at Johnston Memorial Hospital in Abingdon, Virginia. I was in the last class that graduated from that hospital school. After that I was employed by Hostin Valley and married my husband Ray. We had 2 children, Nathan and Jason, and we now have 3 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild and 1 on the way. I was employed at Hostin Valley for 29 years, and during that time, I went back to school at ETSU and got my degree. And after that, I left employment at Hostin Valley in 2000 and went into research, and I did that for the last 18 years of my career. Both of those jobs included teamwork, which is something that I feel like is very important in this position that I'm seeking. I think it's important that we be able to work together to try to accomplish what we need to for Scott County. Teamwork is essential, as I said, to provide productive responses to the issues facing our county. Some of those issues, as I see, and I think that they will address these questions on here, on the board, I think we should be fiscally responsible. And with that, I think that includes making sure that the funds in the county are appropriately distributed and accounted for. I feel like that we need to make give more information out to the people in the county. That's one comment that I've heard as I've been going around visiting with people, is they really don't know, or they don't understand, how the Board of Supervisors works, what our responsibilities are, what our business is all about. So I think it's important that we let people know what we're doing, and we let people know where we stand as far as, with the funds that are going out and the funds that are coming in. Next is actively search for manufacturing and/or production opportunities for Scott County to widen the tax base. So if we have more industry in the county, and I know that it's difficult from hearing everybody else talk, that is sometimes very difficult to get people interested in coming to the county to work, but I think we need to be very aggressive about that. We need to really search out those opportunities and see how we can work with them to try to get industry into the county, because I think that's very important, and that will take some of the tax burden off of people. Third is develop educational opportunities with the colleges and the vocational schools in the area to support and prepare our working population for current job options. The job market's changing. I think all of us know that. I think we see that. And we need to make sure that our kids that are coming up are prepared for what they're going to be looking at and what kind of jobs they're going to have to, try to do in the future. And if we can do that and work with some of the industry in this area as well, to try to partner with them to make sure that they're trained at the level that they need to be able to work in that industry, whatever it might be. Number 4 is review existing contract with the regional prison system to assess for possible improvements. I think that's the big elephant in the room, is the prison system, and all of the discussion about how much it's costing and how much we're having to put, outlay for that sort of thing. So I think because I have searched and tried to talk to different people and try to get some information about how it started, what kind of contract we have, what sort of obligations do we have, and I haven't been able to find out a whole lot of information. So that is one thing that I'm really interested in finding out about, trying to really understand how that system started, what kind of contract we have, and how, if we can change that so that it's better for us.
Thank you, Ms. Kilgore.
Thank you.
We move now to District 2, Mr. Marshall Tipley.
Good evening, my name is Marshall Tipley, I'm your supervisor for Scott County, District 2. I want to thank the Chamber for your efforts in setting up the Meet the Candidates Forum. My wife Edna and I reside in Hiltons, and I serve on the PSA, the Lennowisco, and the VCC boards. I was recently nominated to Congressman Morgan Griffith's Veterans Advisory Committee. I served in the U.S. Army for 22 years, and I work as the Chief Engineer for Bristol Broadcasting Corporation. My education is Associates in Applied Science, and I have 3 years plus in Business Administration. I have a VRE, and I have an MDiv and a THD. As your county supervisor, I remain committed to listening to your voice, understanding the issues that matter to you, working hard to solve our problems and resolve conflicts. My 22 years of military service taught me the value of teamwork, the importance of sharing ideas, and the necessity of gathering best information available so that important decisions and actions were based on facts. I believe that jobs are the most important priorities for our county, and we must work to get smarter, to get new businesses that will create employment and continue to look for solutions that will make it attractive for them to relocate and stay here. I am committed to listen and work with the Chamber of Commerce, leaders, and community leader groups. Over the last 3.5 years, we've had several new businesses and a couple of relocations to larger spaces throughout the county, which equates to over 330 new jobs and with approximately $11.6 million in investments, which includes $4.5 million for the Daniel Boone Interpretive Center. My second priority is our streets, our bridges, our roads must offer safe, efficient transportation for individuals and commercial interests. I work closely with our county regional VDOT administrators to ensure that our needs are met. Monies and resources with VDOT are determining what they are able to do. Our water supplies must be safe, dependable, and easily accessed by homeowners and businesses. Sewer and wastewater runoff must be processed properly to protect our streams and water supplies. Our public buildings and schools and structures must be protected with conscientious maintenance. Over 2.5 years ago, I headed the Hilton Sewer Project, and to make a long story short, the people really responded. The project was broken up into 4 phases, and so phase 1, 2, and 3 have already been funded. My third priority is the maintenance of critical services. First responders, police, fire, and EMS personnel must have the support and equipment they need to keep our families and neighborhoods, communities safe. And I would never tell a sheriff never to arrest the people. I have never done that. I want to make that clear. Teachers, all of the employees, all of our school systems will play a critical role in making sure our children become productive, successful adults. Their efforts must be compensated and their needs met. Earlier today, we had a special call board meeting to approve our portion of the funding to pave the road from the church property down to the low water bridge, down to the vocational school here, to the sports complex center. First, I oppose the recent tax hike. The assessment every 6 years is the natural process of which it should be to keep our taxes in step with the current market trends. The assessed value estimates the reasonable market value. It should be based on local real estate market conditions. I will continue to look at the feasibility of a local tax assessor's office keeping our tax dollars here. If there had not been a regional jail cost issue, our county would have balanced the budget. The regional jail was created to save us money. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way due to the changes that the state has made in terms of the time of when people go, the inmates go to incarceration, from incarceration to Department of Defense or Department of Correction. I pushed for the Scott County Work Release Program to begin over 2 years ago. Several meetings took place in other counties, gathering as much information about the program. The Work Release Program is up and running well now, and we just passed several ordinances that allow on the docket of certain non-violent offenders to put in the county code, which creates another revenue stream into our county. Finally, I want to thank all of you for your prayers, for your prayers, okay? Vote, come out and vote. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Maria Colbro.
I'm a little nervous coming up here. So my name's Maria Colbro. I think a lot of you probably know me. I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm from Hilton's, Virginia. Maria Lynn McMurray Colbro. I kept the whole name because I got my daddy's middle name and partial to my last name, McMurray. So it worked for 38 years. So I'm running for District 2 Supervisor as a Democratic candidate. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here and let me participate in this. I'd like to thank Melanie in the back and the students for coming out and helping with the food. It was very good. So I'm married to Anthony Colbro. My husband is Coach Colbro's son, the oldest one. He was in the military, West Point grad, and he served in the Army. So we moved to El Paso, spent 5.5 years there, moved to North Carolina 3.5, and then I came back home to stay. My education, I received my bachelor's in nursing from Radford University in 2004. I'm a 1999 graduate of Gate City High School. I also have a master's degree in nursing education from King University, and I've done some postmaster's work at ETSU. I'm basically just making my way around through the local community colleges and colleges. I did some Mountain Empire school also. So one of the questions, the first question that I got was about the current board, the recent decision of the current board to raise taxes to assist with rising county expenses. What would you do to plan? What would be your plan to address the issue to avoid raising taxes in the future? Well, I think part of the problem is that we need to have jobs in the county. We need to have businesses that stay here. So in running for this position, I looked up a lot of different information. I went to the Economic Development Authority Board, and I saw our most recent success story was the Teletech, but nothing after that. And I noticed that a lot of the things, like when you click on the warehouse project, it mentions that there, but it's a 404, you get the page, the link doesn't work. So there's a lot of things, I think, that just minor things that we might help with getting business to come into the county, because the taxes are falling on the people, because we don't have jobs. We don't have incentives for people to stay here. We are one of the 16th, 17th largest landmass counties in the state of Virginia, and we are one of the only, I think we're the only county without a hospital. We don't have a hospital, we don't have lodging, and we've basically become a suburb of the Tri-Cities. So we need people to come over from Tennessee and spend their money here, but you gotta have something to get them over here. So you need to bring in businesses, and I think that would help. We live in a historical place where we could, you know, there's a lot of different things that are available here. June Carter Cash was from here. A lot of people don't know that. You can go to the Carter Fold and Flatfoot if you want to, but there's a lot of different things. Bristol's really took off with the country music and things like that. We also have, like Dennis mentioned earlier, with the agritourism. I live on the Holston River there in Hilton. I see these boats going by all the time. I finally stopped and talked to one. They were out in North Carolina, and they charged $200 and $300 for these fishing trips. And I'm thinking, why is somebody from Scott County not doing that? So my answer, you know, like to help with the taxes is that we need something, we need businesses here in the county, and we need to start with getting our pages up to date first, like those websites. Because if I'm a corporation and I'm going to be looking at bringing my business, I want a website that has up-to-date information. So the other question for me was talking about what are my priorities if I was elected. I live in Hilton's, I'm in District 2, so one of the priorities that was mentioned was the water. Some of us do have water lines, and they are starting that sewer phase, but there's a lot that still don't have water lines or public access to clean water. I found an article in Kingsport Times from 2017 that said there was over 8,000 people in Scott County, Virginia that didn't have clean water or access to it. And I know that the PSA board is working on that, but that was one of the concerns in my area is because they'd still like access to clean water. There's still people that have well water that when it rains, it turns brown and it stinks. And we live in 2019, you know, everybody should have access to clean water. That was one of the main issues. Most people that I've talked to in my district, it was the water. Some people mentioned the roads also. You know, some roads are taken care of better than others. And I think that's, you know, I know that things are easier said than done. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
We now move to District 3, Mr. Jeremy Herron.
Well, my name's Jeremy Herron. If you'll notice on the program, it got George in parentheses. Want to put a little emphasis on that. When my mom first brought me home, my grandpa asked what my name was, and she said Jeremy, and he said, well, I can't say Germany, so I'm just going to call you George. So that's how I got the name George. But he probably got that because my middle name is Patton, so George Patton, I'm guessing where he probably got that. But I'd like to thank the Chamber for having us all here. I think it's very important that we all gather together as one and come together, and all their sponsors too. It means a lot. It costs a lot. It takes a lot to do something like this. So we really thank you. Like I said, my name's Jeremy Herron. I grew up here in Scott County all my life. I'm 8 years old, graduated from Twin Springs in 1999. Went to work at Broadwater Trading Company as my first job. Worked there for 6 years. And, while I was going to school, graduated at Mountain Empire with an associate's degree. Then I got a job with Norfolk Southern as a conductor. Worked there for 15 years, almost 15 years. And now I'm a full-time farmer. So I've seen a little bit of it all, I guess. But, you know, we hear a lot about what we would do if another tax increase would come upon us. You know, we hear a lot about jobs, bringing jobs into the community, bringing it into the county, and that's number one. We have to do that. But, you know, we lost a big agricultural crop, you know, that maybe some of us got some of us through school. I know it did me, and that was tobacco. You know, tobacco's pretty much gone. You know, especially in my district and throughout the county, agriculture is the main source of income, you know. But that's going downhill. You know, a lot of the agricultural farms and stuff, you know, are growing up. You know, they're going to waste. So we need to bring something into this area, and I think Mr. Kilgore talked about, and maybe Mr. Pillion too, talked about the hemp business. I've actually talked to some of the people about growing that, and you know, that's sort of in the process, you know. But that we need something to take the place of tobacco, and then that would in turn help with the tax situation. You know, whenever we did have tobacco, we had, you know, people that raised the plants. We had people that helped in the fields. You know, we had, you know, we don't even have an agricultural business. Well, Broadwaters, but like someone that sells equipment. You know, it's gone. You know, we lost all that. That needs to be brought back because we have so much good fertile land that we could use. You know. And like I say, the hemp thing could be a thing, but that's we need to focus a little bit on that. Like I said, we lost the tobacco, which put a great hurt all over the county, all over the region. I heard mention about the jail. You know, the jail is a thorn in our side. You know, several people that I've talked to in District 3 are getting tired of even hearing about it. But, you know, that's the major problem. You know, before we can move forward as a county, we have to do something about that jail. You know, it's costing us over $3 million a year, and at the last I heard that could go up in the next year. So we can't keep just focusing our money on that with nothing coming back out of it. I think we need to give credit to Andy, and the circuit court offices. You know, they are really putting in a lot of time and trying to get this under control. I think they're headed in the right direction. Some of the overall things, you know, technology is a big thing. You know, in our district, we don't even have a cell phone tower. You know, that's one of the main things that people are wanting. You know, it's not just for our own use, but you know, for emergencies, you have all these farmers out there that have no connection with the world, and if something would happen, you know, they have no connection. You know, we need to push forward that. The technology's there or is coming, and I feel like we could focus a little more on that. In closing, you know, you have to get out and vote. We can talk and put up signs, but if you all do not get out and vote, it's worth nothing. It's in your all's hands. You know, Benjamin Franklin, at the ratification of the Constitution in 1778, he...
Thank you, Mr. Herron.
Really want to say that.
Mr. Garland Compton.
I'm Garland Compton. I'm currently the supervisor for District 3, and I want to thank the vocational school and their food processing that put on this, and the board for the chamber to have all this up here. And it's good to meet everybody. When I first went into the Scott County Board of Supervisors down there at the old, where the new jail is now, it was a big undertaking for me to learn and be a pleasure to serve Scott County. Iterating on what everybody else has said about whatever county, what we're doing here in Scott County, is the jail is killing us. And raising taxes was a hard decision, being a landowner and a farmer, growing up here in Scott County and being in District 3, and like my esteemed opponent, Mr. Jeremy there. And I've known Jeremy ever since he was a little boy. Taught him when I had to coach him when he was playing football. He played football with my son, and he was a tremendous boy growing up. And I've seen him all his life and know him. He's a fine fella. Got nothing bad to say about him. But getting on to the problem where we raise our taxes or going into the general fund to balance our budget, that's the thing we had to deal with. It's going in to take $1,600,000 out of your general fund and breaking the county to put us where we needed to be in trying to balance the budget. And it was a hard decision for me to sit up there and vote and knowing what we had to do. And being a landowner, it don't exempt you from being on that board of supervisors for paying taxes. We all have to pay them. And I hate to see that farmers, especially myself, and I'm in the same cattle business and the roast tobacco and done everything. Everybody that's done it, I've done it. And I've worked out there in the coal field in so cold weather as you ever want to see, and so hot it blister your feet. But anyway, that's what you do when you make a living for your family. When we talk about that regional jail down here, and I was probably one of the first people that 3 years ago, when I mentioned about what we had to deal with as far as paying when we make in the board to pay our bills, the regional jail is there, and you see $559,000 where it's going to, and that's the biggest bill that we have in our county. And to see that we had to make those decisions and paying our bills and seeing where that money was going, and every year on the budget committee, that when you sit there and you see where all these department heads come in there with a budget and they lay it down there and say, this is what we need. The sheriff's department, we're mandated by a county to give Scott County Sheriff's Department or any of the school system or whatever we do, we are mandated by the state to give them so much money because we have 23,000 people, and it's mandated that that's what we give them. And anyway, when it comes down to the regional jail and we have to pay the bill down there, it's hard. I mean, it is hard to sit there and knowing as a taxpayer, when it comes down to the end of the year, whether you raise taxes or take it out of your general fund is a big deal. Getting to the point where that we, on the second question, I don't know what else to say about that regional jail, whatever we can do. In order to be certified as a regional county, where our biggest competitor for jobs is South Carolina. And in South Carolina, I was just out of a ribbon cutting ceremony down here at Duffield, where the workforce development and the career technical center with Mr. Chapman. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony down there today, where the Cobb County is ahead of everybody down in Southwest Virginia as far as being certified as a county to support industry. The process it takes to do that, and we can use numbers out of Tennessee, welders, we got to have so many people for welders, electricians, or whatever we got. When an industry comes down here and says, we want 500 welders, we want 200 electricians, we want people that can do the technical end of broadband or whatever they got to have, we can be able to tell them what number of people we have. We can't just up and say, well, we can get them. We got to do this. We got to be able to tell those people that, hey, this is the number we have. This is the number that we can put to work tomorrow. Those are the kinds of things that when you're sitting up there and you're trying to find out why is South Carolina or any other place or doing better.
Thank you, Mr. Compton.
Thank you, sir.
We move now to District 4, Mr. Michael Bricky.
Many thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and sponsors for this forum. 5-minute time limit, so 5 minutes time for one short story. I graduated from Rock Oak High School. I had some great teachers there. Miss Highfield was one of my favorites, 11th grade English teacher. At the end of a class, if a student asked if they could stop working as there's only 5 minutes left, Miss Highfield's famous words were, 5 minutes is a long time if your head's on fire. And we continued to work. Looking back, I say thank you, Miss Highfield, Miss Ringstaff, and Miss Janie Taylor. As I went on to study at Legion McRae, East Tennessee State, and in my graduate work, I always excelled in my readings, writings, and English. Thanks to all my teachers here in Scott County. It was a great pleasure and experience to go back to Rock Oak later as the principal of my former high school teachers and later as principal of Gate City High School. Again, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, I'll address your questions. The first role of a supervisor is to provide proactive leadership on issues and challenges facing the county, including setting tax rates and approving county budgets. Supervisors, though, do not work long in a vacuum. They do oversee many agency heads and boards in the county, approve their budgets, which provide funding for schools, public safety, and many other facilities and services, and work with those agencies within the county to make the most effective use of taxpayer money. I realize that the Board of Supervisors do not control or micromanage agencies and boards, but the board can and should ask questions and offer suggestions to agency heads concerning their budgets. I would expect each agency in the county to be constantly aware of their budgets and in the back of their minds to consider the impact of their decisions as a whole on the county and taxpayers, to budget wisely and consider the taxpayers and how to most effectively use their funding provided by those taxpayers. I would expect county government department heads and their boards to look at immediate ways to keep their budgets where they are or to reduce their budgets. I believe it's only common sense for us as a county to work to improve infrastructure, to support the recruitment of as many businesses and industries as we can, to retain and support current business and industry in the county, to continually monitor spending in Scott County by all agencies. There have been many examples of wasteful spending over the years in Scott County. With the limited time in this forum, I can't get into that, but enough of you have brought this subject up to me to know that the public is very aware, even though they don't voice their concerns in public. Number 4, to continue to pursue avenues for payment of delinquent taxes. 5, to continue to look for solutions to the high cost of maintaining regional jail, and to continue to explore ways to build or add to rainy day funds. Priorities. My priorities when elected are the same as I would ask agency heads to consider. No secrets, no hidden agendas, to be true to our people, our taxpayers. While representing District 4, I think my constituents would want me to be frugal and to work for the county as a whole, not on an individual or departmental basis, to consider the well-being of our children, our taxpayers, and the well-being of the entire county. I would make it a priority to provide proactive leadership on issues and challenges facing the county. I will gladly serve in any position or on any county board. I would hope that my role would be to provide taxpayer and constituent advocacy and representation from potholes and winter snow removal to road safety issues such as exit and entry lanes and issues that people deal with in everyday life, such as human services needs or helping them through bureaucracy problems. Thomas Jefferson believed that government closest to the people is the best, so do I. You can't get much closer than being a county supervisor. We're the closest link that taxpayers have to county government, since supervisors are elected by constituents in their district. They are directly responsible to those constituents as well as all county residents. I share your values, will work effectively on your behalf, and ask for your input on major issues that affect our community. I've worked with some of the best administrators in Southwest Virginia and the Commonwealth. I've been chairman of committees with members from Withville to the Cumberland Gap. I work well with people, but I expect them to be open and honest with me. I treat people with respect and expect the same. Ask the thousands of students, teachers, and principals I've worked with over the years. I want to see Scott County and its people prosper and grow, and I will work for you to that end. And Joe, I've got one joke. There was this guy going up towards Snowflake,
And
He saved you, Joe. We moved now to District 5, Mr. Danny Mann.
I guess if you're gonna tell a joke, you tell that first.
Good idea.
I wanna thank everybody for coming out tonight, thank the chamber for hosting this. And vocational school, I was school here in 1970. First year we had it under the school board, it didn't have its building built, so we came here, that was 69, and I went to school here in 1970. But my wife is here, thank you for coming. The questions up here, I think prove I've been answered. The regional jail, let's talk about it. Who wants to hear about it? You know, what's been said here from those on the board, serve on the board, it's been a problem trying to not raise taxes. The worst thing you can do is raise taxes and still not enough. You got to take it out of the general fund. You don't have enough to run the county. And so whenever you do that, and Marshall, you're right, we got issues. Jack, you're right, we got issues. But anyway, I'm gonna come back to that. 8 years ago, I stood here and I asked for people to vote, and I had a lot of ideas, but when I got in there, I realized just maintaining the status quo. You know, we couldn't do anything, you know, that we wanted to do because trying to pay the bills. Whoever comes up with the phrase, the low-hanging fruit, well, we picked that fruit. It still wasn't enough, so we cut everything we could cut. The department heads, you couldn't ask for better because they've done everything they could to try to keep the costs down, and still not enough. So when I was elected the first time, and I wish that when this is all said and done, this will be what happened. I went home that night, I'd won the election. Yaha, hoorah, all that stuff, you know. Michael Joe Kincaid called me and congratulated me on, I had beat him, he lost, I won. And one thing he said to me, I wish we both could have won. I'd love to serve with you. You know, that meant something to me because he ran a good campaign, I thought I did too, but I wouldn't mind lost to him, I really wouldn't. The one thing that happened too was rumors. We were going to fire the county administrator. You remember, don't you? Yeah, we remember. And we'll fire the county attorney. And folks, this is vicious stuff. Never crossed our mind to do that. Okay? So when this is all said and done, hopefully that the folks in this county can put their heads together and still be friends. I haven't heard one of you say I'm an atheist. You're proud to be from Scott County. And so we have a lot in common here when it's all said and done. But anyway, rarely is there any new money comes into this county. And raising taxes, you know, it's the hardest thing you do. Like Jack Tompkins said, he raised them on himself. I raised mine. My wife looked at my taxes, God, she look what you done to us. I said, yeah, lady, I did. You know, we did. And so mine went up too. And I have vested interest in this county. I got a granddaughter at Gay City. I got one that's graduated. She stayed with us. She wanted to be at Wise. And so all the fire departments, the rescue squads, we level fund them. Their cost goes up. We can't do anything about it. We cannot. $41 go back to the regional jail. I said I'd go back to that. $41.13 a day. It's down, last I heard, it was 168 from 250 or 215, 220 to 168. And Andy Johnson, okay, he's not here. But folks, I have some good friends here running for sheriff. But for any sheriff to say that the regional jail is not my problem, it's not my deputy's problem. Folks, if you live here and pay taxes, and if you're the chief law enforcement officer, it is your problem. The Board of Supervisors absolutely wants the laws enforced. Now, if we do, thank God we got Andy Johnson. Thank God we got him because he gave his people, giving them another chance. The girl came and testified before us back when we did a couple of weeks ago. Every eye in there teared up to hear her story. It's working. But if you're the sheriff, it is your problem. It is your problem to help solve. The Board of Supervisors will never, ever, ever say, don't arrest bad guys. And I said, you know, do we spend too much time on Route 23? I said that. I don't know. But I will say this, thank God it's not Interstate 81 going through here, because if we're gonna put everybody in jail that travels through this road, we can't build the jails big enough. And folks, I believe in arresting the bad guys. I really do. We cannot let the bad people run this flipping county. And that's what we're doing when we put $3.2 million into regional jail. In 2006, 600,000. In 2006, 3.2 million we budgeted this year. And so I'm hoping.
Thank you, Mr. Mann.
I hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you.
Now for District 6, Ms. Selma Hood.
Thank you to the Commerce and everybody involved in tonight's event. I am Selma Hood, Republican candidate for District 6. I grew up in Scott County. The most important thing in my life is I am a Christian, and it governs every aspect of my life. I have run a clean and transparent campaign. I am the daughter of the late Rufus and Hazel Hood, and they raised me to live a life of integrity. Growing up with my 6 brothers and sisters, I learned to be a team player or a fast runner. I am the mother of 1 son, Luke, and I learned a lot of leadership skills as a mother, as all parents know we do. I am retired from Eastman Chemical Company. While I was there, I worked primarily in accounting, marketing, and procurement. I was involved with many multi-million-dollar deals, and I dealt with people around the world. I've been involved in many volunteer efforts. I served as an executive director for the United Way for 12 years, and also served on the budget committee. If you want to know more about me and my volunteer opportunities, visit my website, alexselmaghood.com. On the questions, I want to keep taxes as low as possible and make the most effective use of the revenue received. I will look for revenue opportunities through tourism, agriculture processes, and technology. All citizens in Scott County should have internet and cell phone service so that they will be able to do the jobs when technology jobs come to the area. I want to see progress in infrastructure, including dirt roads. The current speed on all unpaved roads in the state of Virginia is 35 miles per hour. The measures need to be taken to manage the dust on these unpaved roads, because all Americans deserve clean air. My goal in life is to make a positive difference in every life I touch. And I hope the voters in District 6 will give me the opportunity to make a difference in Scott County through my service. Thank you, and may God